Hello everyone, welcome live to 3Wide TV, tonight's broadcast of the National Sim Racing Association. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth here very shortly will be none other than Drew Eisenman. He is just going to be back. We want to welcome you guys because this is a little bit of bonus coverage here on the National Sim Racing Association. We got the season really kicking off next week for the duels brought to you by Lynchburg here for the National Sim Racing Association. But I thought, well, why don't we come out here and get a little bit of practice in here tonight at none other the famed Texas Motor Speedway, my home track, Drew Eisenman's home track as well. And it was a fantastic qualifying session because it was the number one machine who went out there and picked up the Sim Racing Shirts Pole Award. Of course, the number one machine this year is driven by none other than JT Poole. He's just about to head off pit road. There he is in that Ford Performance Ford. Great to see Ford finally in the Truck Series this year as he rolls out of his pit box. We're going to get to the starting lineup here shortly. But folks, Texas Motor Speedway, 1.5 miles, recently reconfigured right there in turn number 1. You can see it right there. That turn number 1 and 2 actually quite a bit different than turn number 3 and 4. Different levels of banking. Also a lot wider racetrack in turn number 1 and 2 than you see right there in turn number 3 and 4. So definitely going to be a lot of fun out there on the racetrack here tonight. Got to give a huge shout out to some of the sponsors here of the National Sim Racing Association putting together the 2020 season. SIMBOX jumping on board. If you haven't seen it, SIMBOX PC, make sure you look them up on Facebook if you need any of your button boxes because they're very affordable for what you get. So make sure you go check them out. Of course, a lot of other sponsors jumping on board this season as well. Well, let's see if we can see what's happening out there on the racetrack. Here's Paul Bilson in the number 51 machine, currently atop the leaderboard here in practice. We'll see if we can jump over to the current times. And there you see Bilson atop the leaderboard by about 1/10 of a second over the number 43. And just like that, it looks like the number 43 machine going to jump to the top of the board. That's Mitchell Snare in that race car. Justin White going to jump into second in the number 2 machine. So 2 for 2 currently up atop the board. Bilson in third. Hausman now sitting in the 5th position. Now all of a sudden things very much changing. They only had 3 minutes here for this session. So very, very quick. We'll have to see whether or not my co-commentator is back yet. Drew, are we back yet?
Absolutely, Pete. I'm excited for this. This race here at Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, great to be here, kind of in our home state. Great way to kick off the preseason, really. I mean, the season really kicks off next week when we go to the Lynchburg duels at Daytona. But Texas Motor Speedway, pretty fast track, Drew.
Absolutely. It's, my first memories of NASCAR in my youth were at this facility, and really excited to see what this track will provide. I know in real life, sometimes we've struggled to see some competitive racing, but I always feel like here in iRacing, we always see a little bit better than the real life counterpart. I think these trucks are going to be pretty tricky down in turn 1 and 2, and we're going to see these guys give everything they got.
Absolutely. Well, as you can see, the warm-up session has come to a close, and we're going to get lined up for you for the start of tonight's race. We'll bring up tonight's starting grid for you right here on the bottom of your screen. Like we said, JT Poole in that number 1 machine did pick up the pole award, of course, brought to you by Sim Racing Shirts right there. And there's outside Andrew Himmelman. And Drew, that's a pretty strong front row. But why don't you take us through the first 10 of our starting lineup?
Absolutely. As mentioned, we got JT Poole with the pole. JT Poole with the pole award. We got Andrew Himmelman, P2. James Lorello in P3. Christopher Pendell in P4. Mitchell Snare, P5. Brandon Sauls, P6. Bill Edwards, P7. Brett Ackard, P8. Jacob Schaffet, P9. Robert Dudley, P10.
Yeah, in the 11th position right there, you see TJ Buck on the inside of row number 6, and to his outside, Ben Mashburn. Row number 7 on the inside, we have Paul Bilson in that number 51 machine. We saw that car going around the racetrack here just a bit ago. Sitting to his outside is the number 22 machine of Owen Bridges. Row number 8, the number 5 machine, that is Ben Adams in that race car. He's a little bit further back as all these cars now starting to roll off their grid. Stan Hossman to the outside of row number 8. Row number 9 on the inside, the number 2 machine of Justin White and the 014 of GJ Boydell. Rounding out your top 10 is the number 61 machine and the number 16, Joey Doucette and Brian Bradley there, Drew.
In 21st on the inside, we have Chris Darling, followed by Raymond Heilig. In 23rd, we have Nathan Maurer. In 24th, Doug Neal, followed by Chip Hansen in 25th, Justin Hutchison in 26th, Travis White following him in 27th. On the outside in 28th, we have Michael Mooney, followed by in 29th, Ron Giovo. And then in 30th, we have Nicholas Bradley, followed by 31st on the inside, bringing up the rear, Gerald Baker III.
And so it looks like we will have 30 cars out there possibly. Looks like Nicholas Bradley might not start here tonight, but nonetheless, we are going to get them lined up for the start. The Ford Mustang pace car going to dive down pit road. Very, very quick pace lap here at the mile-and-a-half racetrack that is Texas Motor Speedway. Let's see if we can see the green flag come out, and there is the green flag. We're underway here at Texas Motor Speedway. Good start by the number 1 machine there. Drew's going to jump out to an early lead here at Texas Motor Speedway.
We got 43.
Got the 43 machine around.
Contact in the inside wall. No caution, though. They're going to keep going as the 1 continues to lead. We got the 4 bringing up second place, looking to make a move early on. The 9 takes the inside, moving up to second. We'll see if the 06 can capitalize on the inside of that 4 truck.
Yeah, good start there by JT Poole. I know we had that accident in the back. We'll have to see if we can get another look at that here in just a minute as they dive off into turn number 1 and 2 right there. James Lorello going to take the race lead underneath JT Poole. So just like that, James Lorello up to the front. And Drew, James Lorello, he's not a new name to 3YTV. We actually see him here on Tuesday nights in the American Sim Racing Series, now dabbling in the National Sim Racing Association here on Friday nights. So great to see that number 9 machine, but here comes the number 1 to his outside.
Absolutely. We're seeing a ton of side-by-side racing up front here. That 1 really trying to take that position back from that number 9 of James Lorello. The 06, that is definitely looking to capitalize as well, as we got a 3-way battle for the lead early on here at Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, Christopher Pendell there in the 06 machine gets a little bit loose there in turn number 3 and 4. He's still trying to save it. That's going to open up the door for the number 4 of Andrew Himmelman, and Himmelman going to take that spot. So we go single file now for the first 6 trucks or so. And like you can see, Sim Racing shirts on the front of that number 4 machine, of course, sponsoring the Pole Award this year in that great sponsor. In fact, Lynchburg and Sim Racing shirts owned by the same company, so great to see them jumping on board this year for a series sponsor. But meanwhile, back up at the front, battle for the race lead, and contact there through the grass, and Lorello on pit road. He's going to have to get a black flag for that one, but just like that, that's going to give the lead to JT Poole. Let's see if we can see that one here on the 3YTV replay.
Yeah, that's got to be frustrating for the leader. You know, you're coming on lap traffic on lap 4 and just didn't give him enough room. You got to be predictable when you're that lap traffic, and you know he's going to be frustrated by that one. But he managed to have a pretty good recovery there. Hopefully get that black flag cleared, and he's not out of it, that's for sure.
Yeah, that number 9 machine is going to fall back through the pack just a little bit. He's now back to the 4th position, so he didn't lose a whole lot there, Drew. I mean, hopefully, like you said, can get that black flag cleared. We'll have to see whether or not he comes down pit road. Meanwhile, a little bit further back in the pack, some good racing back around these guys. Look at that, the number 2 Skull machine, Justin White, doing battle with the number 15 right in front of him. Then side by side right behind, that is the 84 of TJ Buck going to the outside of Brett Ackert in that number 151 machine. Pretty much all single file up at the front. Andrew Himmelman trying to chase down your pole sitter JT Poole. But Drew, we're starting to see a little bit of side-by-side action here, and we're still green at Texas Motor Speedway.
Yeah, it's definitely towards the tail end of that top 10. We got side-by-side racing throughout the field. Really competitive with these trucks. They're so momentum based that you can really carry that high lane, even at a place like Texas Motor Speedway, where you would think that's not the case. It's just always so impressive to see how close these fields can be, even at a track where it can be a real challenge to run side by side because they're going 2 wide, now 3 wide on the exit at turn 2, and it doesn't look like they're going to slow down anytime soon.
Yeah, we did see the number 9 machine, James Lorello, peel down pit road, and look at that, the number 78 machine back there getting oh so close to almost making contact. That was a huge battle, 3 wide off into the corner. There's the 22 of Owen Bridges, who was pretty much in the thick of that battle. Just in front of him, we have Joey Doucette right there, has number 78 on the side of that car. On your ticker on the left-hand side of your screen, he will be the number 61, but you do see 78 on the side of that Budweiser machine. He was also in the epicenter of that madness last time by, but up in front of him, that is the number, was that the number 50 machine, Bill Edwards? Yes, it was right there. He was going a little bit of 2 wide action off into the corner, but he's going to calm down, go single file now for about the first 10 cars. But let's see if we can see what's happening back up at the front, because Andrew Himmelman, Drew, hasn't let JT Poole get away, and we are under caution here tonight for the first time. We'll have to see if we can figure out what happened here. It might be this man right here, the 014 machine. Let's see if we can figure out what happened here on the replay, because I believe there was a little here going into the corner.
Yeah, it looks like just fighting for a position. 2 trucks try to occupy the same space. That never works out, and unfortunately both of them look like they're not going to have an insignificant amount of damage. Yeah, it's difficult to necessarily, I think, fault either one of those drivers. It's just got to be frustrating here on lap 10 on a 90-lap race to kind of, not have as much give and take as you would hope from your competitors.
Yeah, let's see if we can get that from maybe the overhead cam, because I'll tell you what, here they are coming out of the corner. This is on board with G.J. Boydell in the 014 machine, trying to run down the number 21 right in front of him. Almost made contact with the outside wall. And Drew, sometimes here at Texas Motor Speedway, this quad oval can just catch you out, and you saw that happen right there.
Yeah, certainly I've experienced that problem here, and it's caught more than myself out as we've seen. It's one of those deals where you can think you have room, and suddenly it really closes up on corner entry, and I think that's what we saw there in that little incident.
The other car involved there was Ron Giovo in that number 17 machine. He's on pit road to get some of his damage repaired. But Drew, we're not seeing a lot of cars on pit road, and there is a good reason for that. The number of tires are limited in tonight's race. They have 3 sets of tires, including the set of tires they start on. So definitely we'll keep an eye on that. Now, meanwhile, Mitchell's there up at the front. He's going to get the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award in that number 43 machine. And Drew, good-looking paint scheme on that number 43 machine. He will now be only a couple of laps down. So great to see him get some of those laps back here early.
We saw that 43 with that little bit of an issue on lap 1, so it's good to see him get that lap back. It's going to be interesting, yeah. How much will these fresh tires for some of these guys make a difference, right? Like, it's so hard to tell when that right time is to take those sets of tires, and they're so valuable with that awesome new feature implemented by iRacing in the very recent past, where it gives leagues this opportunity to really choose to limit the tires for these guys and add that extra bit of strategy that I think can make for a really exciting race, because that decision might mean the difference in winning and losing this race, but it's impossible to tell kind of on lap 12. If it goes green from here, those tires will absolutely pay for themselves. But if we have a number of cautions and those guys have lost a set of tires, it's going to be interesting to see how that strategy shakes out.
Looking a little bit further back in the pack, this man right here, Bill Edwards, he's the first car off pit road. Doesn't look like he came down and took 4 tires on that race car, but he definitely came down and made a stop. So currently the first 22 machines have yet to make a pit stop in tonight's race. Let's talk about the biggest mover of the race so far, and it is the 971 machine right there. He has gained 11 positions since the start of the race, qualified in 23rd, now running in the 12th position. So great start right there for Nathan Maurer in that race car. Justin White in the number 2 machine also has gained 10 positions. So also a great start for him, getting himself up into the top 10. Meanwhile, we saw him just a little bit ago. James Lorello did receive that black flag in that race car right there for that incident. Had to cut through the pit lane. And once he served that penalty, he finds himself a couple of laps down. And I'll tell you what, definitely a tough break for him. We'll bring up the live standings right there under this caution. But Drew, great start to this race so far.
Yeah, you know that Jason Morello has to be really frustrated by that incident. You know, we need to definitely make sure we are up to date with the league policy on clearing black flags. But what else could he have reasonably done? You know, you just have a lap car being indecisive. You think you make the best decision. It's early in the race. You know, you don't wreck the truck. You have to go down pit road to avoid it. But luckily, he definitely has plenty of time to get back into this deal, but he's certainly probably going to be a little hot under the collar after that one.
Yeah, and of course, we'll have to see whether or not he can get some of those lucky dogs brought to you by Brookstone Animal Hospital throughout this race to get back on the lead lap. That would be good, but currently finding himself 3 laps down in that number 9 truck. The good news, though, for James Lorello, though, is he is the first truck more than a lap down. So there's no other cars that would currently be eligible for that lucky dog. So hopefully we can see him here pretty shortly get back up to the lead lap if we had a couple of cautions. But Drew, great to see a little bit of a green flag run here at the start of this race.
Absolutely. You know, especially for a preseason race like this, it's always good to see these competitors taking this fairly seriously and trying to put on a good show and a good, clean race with each other. You know, that's one of those great things about league racing is you see these guys consistently, and so you always want to treat these guys with respect. It's not a one-off deal, and it's great to get a look at these new schemes, the new names for this series. You know, we got some great drivers involved in this series, like Chris Darling, JT Poole, a bunch of established guys, and I think we're gonna hopefully see a few more long green runs. We're gonna see all these different strategies play out for these guys. It's gonna be an exciting one, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, JT Poole will lead us back to green. The pace car lights have turned off. Looking a little bit further back, there is the 00 machine right there of Jacob Schoffett, and he will be lining up on the inside of row number 3. To his outside, looks like it's going to be the Captain Crunch mobile of TJ Buck. Jason White in the number 2 machine. We highlighted him as he's worked his way through the field as they head down the backstretch. Great looking bunch of race trucks here, Drew. I love when you see all of the race trucks brand new, freshly painted, and they've all got the SIMBOX on the top. Got to give a huge shout out to SIMBOX, of course, being the series sponsor this year, kind of jumping on board at the last moment in a little bit of a, you know, the league was in a little bit of a state of disarray, and SIMBOX jumped in and really helping out these guys, and definitely a fantastic product for a fantastic price. But we'll go back up to the front. We'll keep our eyes on the field as the flagman has the green flag in hand for the second time here tonight. It'll be the first restart. And will JT Poole get a huge jump like he did last time? Well, not this time, because he looks like he's going to jump out to a little bit of a jump. Actually, he jumped to that outside line. The flagman was obscuring my view just a smidgen. And it does look like that number 1 machine going to jump out here to an early restart, Drew.
Absolutely. That's a good, comfortable lead, which you always want as the leader. Second place comfortably in front of third, but then we start having side-by-side racing with the 06 and the 4 looking to battle for that third position, and not far behind them we have the 84 and the 00 of Jacob Schoffett really contesting for P5. Oh, really close with the 4 truck there. They both drive it in deep, and that's going to compromise him just enough to get that 84 of TJ Buck back on the inside. Can the 2 car capitalize on this side-by-side situation with the 15 of Robert Dudley behind them? Looks like they're going to sort it out going into turn 3 with the 00 filing in behind the 84 of TJ Buck.
Yeah, great job there by Justin White. Once again, he's moving up through the field, plus 10 positions, trying to get 6th spot here away from the car right in front of him. That's Jacob Schaffet to the outside of the number 2 machine. Still Justin White down there trying to gain that spot. Meanwhile, back behind them, a little bit of a gaggle. Robert Dudley in the number 15 machine leading kind of a 3-car battle. Joey Doucette up there in the number 78 machine. He's side by side with Ben Adams in the number 5. They're going to get back in line. So all of a sudden things starting to calm down just a little bit. Meanwhile, back up the front, here is Christopher Pendell in the 06 machine doing battle with Brandon Sauls in the number 76, trying to take away second. There is James Lorello in the number 9 machine. Looks like Lorello here going to fall 4 laps down. Not 100% sure if Drew, maybe he's suffering from some of that damage he accrued with that contact a little bit ago. But JT Poole continues to lead the way, but he's got a hard charging number 76 behind him.
Yeah, I don't know if he made a pit stop, but he certainly was down pit road under green, which, again, that's got to be frustrating for the former leader. But he's looking to earn that lap back as he dives under. Oh, is he going to make it 3 wide going into 3? No, he backs out of it wisely. But he's going to be looking to earn those laps back the hard way. Yeah, the 4-car 06. We'll see how these leaders treat a lap car, albeit a fast one. You know, getting up there and mixing it up. Oh, the 06 almost gets turned into 1. That's a heck of a save. Can he bring it up? Oh, wow. That's some dicey racing up there. And we'll see how he responds to that. I know the 9's fast, but when you're a lead lap guy, oh, we got a caution out.
Yeah, we do have a caution out. We'll see if we can figure out what this caution is for. But I'll tell you what, Drew, that was a massive save by that machine. And my oh my, just a great job. But we're going to see if we can dial up this replay for you here shortly. There was a couple of slow cars out there on the racetrack, so it's going to be a little difficult to figure out what car it was indeed. But I'll tell you what, Drew, it appears to be the number 22 machine.
I believe it's the 47 and the 51 were involved in this.
Yeah, and the number 22 machine, who you're right on board with here, just got the bad end of it. And there you see him stopped on the racetrack, that Aflac machine. We're going to get another view of it here, Drew. But that was kind of just coming together right in front of him. I think that was the number 47 machine getting into it with the 51 of Bilson. That's Darling Bilson and the number 22 machine, Owen Bridges. And I think the 22 probably got the bad end of that stick.
Yeah, it looks like both the 47 and the 51 were both contesting side by side going into the corner. It looks like the 51 was maybe expecting the 47 of Chris Darling to take a little more aggressive entry versus he definitely wanted to keep the middle part of the track. You know, they get together, and unfortunately, the guys who pay the price are the innocent guys behind them in the 22. That's a big, big impact with the outside wall. We'll see what kind of damage that 22 has.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully not a lot of damage. Meanwhile, back live, we got a bunch of cars headed down pit road. Does look like it's about a 50-50 split here, Drew. We got about the first 10 cars staying out there on the racetrack. Meanwhile, drivers like the number 4 machine electing to come down pit road. There is the number 4 coming out back onto the racetrack. Gonna slot back in line and gonna have to keep an eye on just how long it has been for these drivers to come down pit road. Luckily, we can bring that up at the top of your screen so you can see at the top of the screen how many laps it has been since these drivers were last on pit road. Ben Mashburn there in the 24 machine, he's only been out there on the racetrack 11 laps since he was last on pit road. Then you start to see the drivers who just pitted, led by Andrew Himmelman in that number 4 machine that we're focusing on your screen right now. But up at the front, JT Poole, he's elected to save some of those tires, Drew. They do have 3 sets here tonight, and those are the same 4 tires that he started on. But the thing I'm going to be curious to see on this restart is just how different the tires will be. What's the fall off like on these tires?
looks like the highest ranking driver with newer tires than the ones they started the race on is P10 in the 24 of Ben Mashburn. Only 11 laps on those tires, so half of the wear that's going to be on those leaders. Can he make a little bit of time up? And then down in 13th, we have the 4 with brand new stickers on. How big of a difference are those tires going to play? And are we going to have more cautions? If not, I think the 4's in a pretty good position. He's only down at 13th, and he has 4 fresh tires on that truck. He's got to be feeling good about the position that he put himself in.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking out back at the number 15 machine, Robert Dudley, who's right behind him, who also came down pit road. But I agree with you. Definitely the fact that he's got fresh tires on that race truck will help out. Now, the big question will be, as we near the 1/3 race distance here, you got to think about the other cars. Will we see a green flag run? If we see a long green flag run, this is obviously going to play into the hands of this man who we see right now. But I'm looking at the fall off. The last 5 laps that these drivers ran before the yellow flag came out, JT Poole's average lap time was a 30.5. That is actually 1 second slower than his fastest lap of the race. So definitely, you know, a pretty big difference on old tires to fresh tires. And I think it's going to have to work out for the drivers on the fresh tires now that they're going to have to get a little bit of a green flag run. Because remember, there is a tire limit, so the drivers who did stay out saved an extra set of tires. They still have 2 sets, sitting on pit road. Meanwhile, the drivers who just elected to use one of those 2 sets just have 1. That's funny how math works out that way. But Drew, we're going to get set here to go back to green flag action shortly. There you see JT Poole. Pace car lights are still on, so fairly lengthy caution flags here at the Texas Motor Speedway, but we'll go through the field here just for you a little bit. JT Poole is your current race leader. Brandon Sauls in the 76 machine. He started in the 6th position. He is now up into the 2nd position. And we'll see if we can bring up that driver info for you down there. Sitting in the 3rd spot, TJ Bucks. In that number 84 Captain Crunch machine. I love that paint scheme. I love myself some Captain Crunch. Jacob Schaffet, he is in the 4th position. Justin White in 5th. Nathan Maurer sitting in 6th. Brett Accord in the 151. Joey Doucette in 8th. Justin Hutchinson in 9th. And Ben Mashburn rounding out your top 10. Then you have Ron Giovo, who was involved in an accident a little while ago. Does look like he was able to use a faster pair here, Drew. I'm not 100% sure whether or not they're going to have faster pairs all season. We'll have to keep an eye on that as the season progresses. Michael Mooney sitting in 12th. Look at that. Michael Mooney, he has gained 16 positions. In fact, the biggest mover right now is Ron Giovo in the number 17 machine. And remember, Drew, they are trying to get the award at the end of the season, which is brought to you by Kaz Racing Customs. And I bring them up right now because they are sponsoring the Biggest Mover Award this year, and they make custom die-casts. So if you have a sim racing machine that you want to make a die-cast of, go check them out. Definitely very, very cool there, Drew. But I believe the pace car lights are off, so we're going to get set to go back to green.
Absolutely. You know, the guys that have used their faster pair like Ron Giovo, you know, it's a great thing to have that one faster pair, but I think now the pressure's on a little bit where, you know, there's not that safety net of being able to go down and get a fresh truck. So we'll see how that plays out for them. But yeah, I think this one truck of JT Poole has looked so fast all race long. He's got to feel good, but are those fresh tires of that 4 of Andrew Himmelman, what kind of role is that going to play, and how is that going to affect this race? Because the 1 might feel comfortable now, but in 3 or 4 laps, we might see that 4 truck up there as we are getting ready to go green.
Yep, green flag going to come out in the air. JT Poole electing to use the high line for this restart. The field comes on by. Green flag back in the air. And JT Poole on the loud pedal, he's going to get once again out to a huge jump in that race car over the number 76 machine. In fact, so far you couldn't even see that number 76 right behind him, Brandon Sauls. Meanwhile, side-by-side battle now for the third position. Scratch that, side-by-side for second, because here comes TJ Buck, and look at the number 2 machine, Jason White, with 3 wide going into turn number 3.
Oh, that's really close side-by-side action as the 84 checks the 76 way up the track, a little bit into the wall, keeps it together. That's going to cost him a bunch of spots as he gets in the wall again in the tri-oval. We were talking about this tri-oval can be so tricky as it catches him off guard. Brandon Sauls, he's got to be frustrated by that move. Continues to fall back. As we know, these trucks, they're all about momentum, and once you get a little bit compromised in your momentum, you can just get eaten up as, oh, he gets turned by the 21. Looks like net code caution. 76 into the wall, backs it in. A little bit of contact with the front. Oh, and I think the 43 missed him. That's going to be close right there.
Well, we'll definitely have to catch a replay of this one, but Brandon Sauls from almost first to almost worst. Definitely a tough break for him. We'll see if we can get this one right here on the 3-wide TV replay. This was him dropping back through the field here, Drew. And what do you see on this contact that leads to this caution here in just a second?
Yeah, I got it. It was close racing. It really looks like, I think that was netcode. It looked like they weren't quite together. You know, that's, yeah, there's a good foot between those trucks. That's got to be frustrating for the 76 and the 21. I mean, you know where your truck is in relation to the guy next. You can't take into account where that, that little bubble of the crash structure is going to be that's in the simulation. So unfortunate for both of those drivers, especially obviously the 76 of Brandon Sauls, who gets the worst end of that deal after being in second only a lap before this incident.
Yeah, without a doubt, the number 76 machine going to come down pit road. Now, the good news for him is he probably still has a faster pair. We have reached the 1/3 distance here, Drew. So this might have been the window some of the drivers who didn't come down pit road last time. They might have been waiting for the 1/3 distance to come down pit road to use their second of three sets, I should say. So we'll have to see if that holds true. There's the 76 machine coming to his pit box. Meanwhile, JT Poole in the number 1 machine. You see it. He was your race leader just a bit ago. Well, now he has come down pit road. We didn't quite catch it, but JT Poole right there will come back out onto the racetrack well down the field here, Drew. First 15 cars appear to have elected to stay out there on the racetrack. So JT Poole going to find himself pretty much mid-pack. It's going to be interesting to see him race through the field.
Absolutely. It's always interesting. That truck, it sure is going to handle great in clean air, but once you get back in the pack, we're going to see how that handling changes. Also interesting, I know we've talked about him quite a bit, but the 4 of Andrew Himmelman pitted under the last caution, pits under this caution. I was really excited for him because I thought, he's going to be in a great position. Pitted under the last caution, has fresh tires. We only ran a lap or two of green there, but he decides to go down pit road and take at least his second set of fresh tires, and we're only at the 1/3 mark. That's a pretty aggressive strategy by him.
Yeah, I wonder if he's unaware of the fact that they do have a tire limit on tonight's race. I mean, definitely going to be tough for him now to go 60 laps on tires with that race car. But I'll tell you what, nonetheless, it is going to be a great finish to this race here in about 60 laps from now. Got to give a big shout out to the number 77 machine of Doug Neal. He has SIMBOX all over that number 77. Of course, SIMBOX jumping on board for the 2020-2021 NSRA SIMBOX Truck Series. And that number 77 machine looking very snazzy out there on the racetrack here under the lights at Texas Motor Speedway. But one driver who elected to stay out, Drew, is your current race leader. In fact, the top 2 drivers have yet to come down pit road. The number 2 of Justin White and Joey Doucette in that number 61. And it does have number 78 on the top end side of that machine, but he is number 61 on the ticker. Those 2 cars have yet to pit. And then you find Ben Mashburn, who is the first car who has pitted in this race. He's sitting in the 3rd position. There he is right in front of Robert Dudley. We'll look out back at the front nose of that number 15 machine. You see Dudley, and there to his outside is Paul Bilson. So definitely some comers and goers in this race. In fact, looking at the top 11 drivers, Drew, all of the top 11 drivers have gained position in this race. I know we've had some comers and goers and people on a little bit different pit strategy, but that's very impressive that drivers like Justin White, Joey Doucette, they started mid-pack and now they find themselves up at the front.
Absolutely. I mean, of the top 11, not a single one started in the top 10. So, I mean, these guys have to be feeling great that despite, maybe not getting all they wanted to get out of the truck in qualifying, they still are in a great position in this race. That 2 truck looked really, really quick on the last restart. We know he hasn't pitted. Do tires even matter that much? I don't know. I didn't see a lot of progress by that 4 truck under that last restart. We're going to see with that one of JT Poole, who's been so quick all night long. What can he do with these guys that are in front of him that have significantly older tires by and large than he does under this restart? I think he's got to be the favorite, but how is that dirty air going to affect that 1 truck? And he's racing around guys that haven't been up front. In 8th, we have Michael Mooney started 28th. In 9th, we have Ron Giovo started 29th. Behind him, Raymond Heilig, who started 22nd. These guys aren't used to being up front, at least in this race. And how are they going to race a guy who's been so quick all night?
Yeah, absolutely. I got to give a huge shout out to Raymond Heilig in that number 7 machine because I really like the looks of that number 7 race car. I love those colors on the race car. Just definitely work very well with one another. But hopefully we can go back to green flag action here shortly because I am getting word that the pace car lights have turned off. Indeed, they have. Justin White here electing to use the outside. That's what we've seen the number 1 of JT Poole do for just about every restart here tonight. But that Skull Bandit up there going to be restarting from the lead. Joey Doucette behind him in second. Will be lined up to his inside. Then Ben Mashburn and Robert Dudley on the second row. Paul Bilson and Ben Adams on row number 3 for this restart here on 3 Wide TV. But Drew, we're getting close to the halfway mark, and I gotta say these trucks all look so good under the lights here at Texas Motor Speedway.
Absolutely. It's long been my favorite of the 3 national touring divisions. And these trucks, they look like the real life counterparts. They're a ton of fun to drive, and they produce some fantastic racing as we've seen tonight. That 2 looked mighty quick on that last restart. He's in control, coming to the green flag. Can he pull away? Can he control these restarts like we've seen so much during this race with that 1? Pace car is off. Here comes the 2. Oh, I think the 78 got a much better restart than we've seen recently. 2 cars going to control it, but it looks like the 78 can't quite get through the gears as quick as that 15. Gonna make a move on the outside for second. I imagine with that momentum, he's gonna be in a really good position to take it. Absolutely, he does with the 5. Looking to make a move. That is Robert Dudley solidly up into 3rd place with the 2 of Justin White in control of this race. And Pete, it's looking great on this restart.
Yeah, and up at the top of the screen, you saw the number 15 machine. He pitted only 11 laps ago. The number 2 machine, however, he has been out there since the start of this race. Got to think about possibly fuel on that race car. Probably only about 20 more laps of fuel in the tank of that race machine. But it does look like the number 15 of Robert Dudley will take his race car to the front for the first time here tonight. Here comes the number 5 of Ben Adams. And the number 51 of Paul Bilson trying to get underneath that number 2 machine. So, Drew, I think we're starting to answer the question of how important are fresh tires.
Absolutely. And that 5 truck looking to make a move for that lead. Yeah, that 2, you see it through the center of 1 and 2, how much those fresh tires are really hurting him. Yeah, I mean, that was probably, 5 car lengths that he lost to those lead 3 as that 5 goes to the outside of the 15. Ben Adams looking to take the lead. He's got the momentum on the high side. Can he carry it off of 4? Not quite as much as I was expecting. A little bit of an advantage. He'll lead this lap, but they're going to be side by side going into 1. Is anybody going to there? We're close. Yeah, wow, 15 really, really rolled the bottom well on that one.
Yeah, the number 15 machine, Robert Dudley, doing a good job down there on the inside, trying to hold on to that race lead. But the number 5, Ben Adams, wanting, and we can't count out, Drew, the number 1 machine of JT Poole. Remember, he came down pit road under that last caution. He's already up to the 7th position, right behind the number 2 machine who restarted as the race leader. Meanwhile, 39 machine, Stan Halsman inside, or on the outside wall there just a little bit, but up the front, almost 3 wide for the race lead is Paul Bilson trying to sniff the race lead in the number 51.
He's trying to take advantage of these two guys fighting for the lead, trying to take advantage of them. He's going to be able to stick it on the outside of that 15. Can that momentum? Oh, we got a caution on track.
Caution flag is out. We'll try and figure out what went down. It's looks like possibly the number 61 machine. We'll see if we can get this replay lined up for you here. And I do believe it was. Let's see if we can see what happened here. There he is coming down the backstretch in the number 61. This is Joey Doucette, and getting word that he might have just tried to come down pit road here. Right behind him is that the number 88 machine? I think it was, of Michael Mooney. They made a little bit of contact, and the number 61 of Doucette, or 78, looks like that was just enough to possibly bring out the caution. We'll have to see whether or not that was the case or not. Well, let's see if we can make sure that nothing else happened out there on the racetrack to possibly bring out the caution here, because definitely appears, oh, there was something else, Drew, out there on the racetrack, and it happened. Let's see if we can show this. So we're watching at the number 88 machine. It happened a little bit in front of them, and just like that, the number 16 machine spun around. That's Brian Bradley there. Let's see if we can get another look at that, running with the number 22, who we've already seen involved. That's Owen Bridges, involved in an accident a little bit earlier. Just a little nudge on the rear end of that car to spin it around.
Yeah, it looks like 16. I don't know. I got to say, the 22 could have given him a little bit there. He was just behind the rear bumper, and man, that 87 got that 16 a ton, and then quite a few guys piling into that, but that 87 definitely got the worst end of that deal.
Yeah, without a doubt, that number 87 machine of Chip Hansen. We'll see if we can go on board with the number 87 here. Right on entry, you see that accident happening right in front of him, and boom, just like that, got a piece of the 22 as well. He'll have to come down pit road. Man, he even got turned up into the wall right up there at the end. So Drew, tough break for that number 87 machine, but we are back to caution flag here at Texas Motor Speedway. Back live, you see a couple cars on pit road there. And Drew, we're now just 5 laps away from the halfway mark.
Absolutely, and you know who this caution benefited? JT Poole. I don't know that he really needs it given his speed that he's demonstrated tonight, but he's back up in the 4th position after taking tires and starting outside of the top 10 before that restart. So he's in a great position. Did the 2-car pit? I believe he did. Yeah. He's down in 12th. So the 2-car, who was the leader before that last restart, obviously struggled on those older tires, pitted, is now 16th and is going to be looking to get back up there. But I got to go back to JT Poole. He's been so strong all night. It almost looked like he was so much quicker than the trucks in front of him, rather, on that last restart, that he almost didn't know how to take the corner behind him, because you could see he was just all up behind that 2 trucks rear tailgate trying to get by him. And sometimes when you have that speed differential, it's almost hard to not run into that guy because you just don't know when they're going to let off going into the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately for drivers like Owen Bridges, still sitting on pit road, Joey Doucette in that number 78 now rolling back out onto the racetrack, coming out of turn number 2 right there, waiting to see that blue line so he can blend back up on the racetrack. There he is, but he was able to use one of those faster pairs, so good for him. Meanwhile, the number 9 machine of James Lorello still sitting 4 laps down. He's right there. Brandon Sauls in the number 76, currently not shown on the racetrack. So definitely might be having a little bit of a connection issue with that machine. Meanwhile, you can see a beautiful look at Texas Motor Speedway under the lights here, Drew. Of course, it is one of the newer iRacing tracks and has all the bells and whistles on it. And I got to say, it looks pretty spectacular under the lights.
Yeah, she's a pretty one, that's for sure. Yeah, I always loved coming here as a kid and sitting at a turn 4 with those huge high horsepower Gen 4 cars buzzing down the front stretch. Well, a ton of memories here, with family and whatnot. And it's iRacing's done a fantastic job visually with the rework of this track. Might not be my necessarily favorite iteration of this track, but it certainly is a pretty one.
Absolutely, and great to see all the trucks and all the shininess on all of them. Of course, iRacing recently released spec maps for these race cars, and so you can just do a little bit more than what you used to be able to do with them, and it definitely adds to how beautiful these paint schemes are. And I know, Drew, you and I have mentioned it many, many times that you yourself are a painter in iRacing. You make your own iRacing cars. It's a spot for drivers to really make something that is their own, make it unique, make it look good. And we've seen drivers and painters springboard from iRacing go into real life painting for actual cup teams. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely. It gives a really iRacing, especially with the spec maps that they've added recently. It just gives the painter an increased dimension to kind of show what they have envisioned for their schemes and what kind of skills they can bring to the table. And like we've seen, some of these trucks, man, are like that 77 are beautiful, beautiful schemes. The 39, 84. There's some fantastic looking schemes out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we've highlighted that number 77 machine, SimBox on the hood. Give big shout out to SimBox for jumping on board for the National Sim Racing Association this year to sponsor this series. And you'll see SimBox on that number 77 truck all year long. Meanwhile, pace car lights are off. We're going to get set to go back to green flag action. The current race leader, Ben Adams, in the number 5, he's elected to take the high side once again here for this restart, Drew. It seems like that is definitely the preferred line for these restarts.
Absolutely. It definitely seems like what is most important on these restarts is, number 1, just being the leader and being able to determine when you accelerate. And number 2, that momentum, carrying it through 1 and 2. If on that high lane, you're definitely not going to be held down by the car inside of you, even if they manage to get a good jump. And that seems to be a huge advantage here at Texas Motor Speedway.
Well, the pace car going to dive back onto pit road here. We're going to get set to go back to green flag action here at Texas Motor Speedway. The green flag is in the flagman's hand, and the number 5 machine, Ben Adams, hits the loud pedal, and we're back to green flag action here at Texas Motor Speedway. Gets a good jump on the second place number 15 machine of Robert Dudley there. It looks like he's going to be challenged by the number 1 machine here of JT Poole, trying to go to the outside of Paul Bilson. And I know, Drew, we've seen that number 1 be so fast here in the first half of this race as we're now in the final 50 laps.
Absolutely. He's going to be battling his way up there as the 15 gets a little bogged down on the inside. The 1 fighting for 3rd already. And he's going to be shooting for that top spot as the 51 looks to be taking the top spot away from that 5 truck.
Yeah, Paul Bilson going to jump to the inside in that number 51 machine. And we got to bring up, Drew, the fact that out of the front 5 cars, JT Poole does have the freshest tires. And you can see that up at the top that a lot of the cars in the front 5 have 22 laps on their tires. And you can just see how many different strategies are out there on the racetrack right now as the number 1 machine gets behind the number 5, and the number 5 of Adams clips the outside wall just a little bit. Poole has to avoid the number 5 machine as the 5 of Adams continues to slide back. The 06 of Pendle there trying to use that low line to his advantage, but now looks like 3 wide for the race lead.
It did not take that 1 truck of JT Poole long to be fighting for this lead, and he is going to try to take it. It slides a little bit on entry, but he has cleared him going into 1. JT Poole so quick all night, back to the lead, but the 15 carrying a little bit of momentum. Robert Dudley not going to give it up easy, takes the inside line into turns 1 and 2, doesn't take the bottom, a little bit of contact there. Oh, the one truck, 3 wide now as the 51 gonna try to retake the lead there, 3 wide going into 3. This is some incredible racing of Paul Bilson gets the lead. Is he gonna clear that 15 truck on the exit of 4? No, we're still side by side.
How about that? A little bit of 3 wide action here on 3 wide TV. That's what the name is all about, and these front drivers still continuing to have a fantastic battle up at the front. Now going down the backstretch, the 15 of Dudley's found himself back up at the front of this field. This is like shuffling the deck right now with how much these drivers are just changing out positions. Fantastic racing with inside the top 10.
Everybody needs to tell these guys this isn't Talladega, right? This looks like a restrictor plate track. This is some incredible stuff. Is the 51 and the 15? That's so close on the entry of 1. 15, man, not giving it up. I thought the 1 was going to run away with this as soon as he cleared him, but just had that little slip up. And again, we've talked about momentum with these trucks. It costs so much. Man, they're going so quick. Oh, I think Robert Dudley, he disappeared just for a second for me. Woo, that was a little scary. But the 51 trying to carry that momentum, he's going to lead this lap. But that 1 looking to get that lead back. I know he made that little tiny mistake, and small mistakes here just cost you so much time, but he's going to carry that momentum on the outside of that 15. And 51 of Bill Paulson, he's got it off of 2. He's going to try to gain a little bit of gap on that 1 because you know he's hunting for that lead.
This is a major gaggle of cars coming out of turn number 4. Bilson going to take the lead. Now Poole has worked his way back up into the 2nd spot. And remember, Drew, he restarted around the 15th position or so 2 yellow flags ago. And a fantastic job to find himself up into 2nd. But now Bilson got a little bit of fresh air on the nose. That clean air will definitely add to the downforce of that race car. Remember, these trucks are very big, very boxy. That does lead to a pretty large wake, does lead to a lot of dirty air. But look at Poole, get that run. Out of turn number 4, Poole here trying to the high side. Is Poole going to try and go for the race lead in turn number 1? Looks like he will, just showing his nose to the right rear quarter panel with that number 51 machine. Now going to slot back in line, but a little bit of contact there, just a little bit behind. That looks like around Ben Adams as the car is scattering everywhere. Almost 4 wide here on the backstretch, Drew. This is crazy stuff.
Yeah, I got to give the 84 a lot of credit for coming over the radio and giving that 06 a big apology. You know, it's always nice to hear those drivers say, hey, man, my fault. I'm sorry. I screwed up. And hopefully the 06 will accept that and we'll keep going. At 1, here we go again, trying to fight for that lead here on the inside of 1. Man, that entry into 1 has looked so slick. How many trucks have we seen slide up, carrying a little too much corner entry speed, but not the case with the 1 car, JT Poole, as he is going to be fighting Paul Bilson for that lead going into turn 3.
Bilson on the high side, Poole on the inside. Poole's going to get the run through the center of turn number 3 and 4 and give the lead back to the man who started on pole. JT Poole back to the front here with 37 more laps to go at Texas Motor Speedway. Fantastic job by Poole to navigate that traffic, because it was a traffic jam here in the Lone Star State. And now Bilson struggling with the aero wash. We have more cars throwing up sparks back there. That's the number 2 of Jason White in the Skull Bandit. And Drew, he's working his way now through this field.
Absolutely looking to capitalize on the 06 right there of Christopher Pindell. Can that 2 take? Nah, he didn't quite carry enough momentum off of 4. Oh, a little loose by the 15, getting into turns 1 and 2. But he's doing all right there. Robert Dudley able to hold on to that 2nd. And man, I thought Paul Bilson was going to knock the wall down at a 2, but he managed to keep it under him. But that gave the 1 of JT Poole plenty of room out front, comfortably in the lead right now. But I tell you what, these guys aren't going to be settled with 2nd.
Absolutely. Here we go. The number 84 machine of Buck trying to go underneath Bilson. They're going to be side by side now for the 3rd position right here. Buck down there in that Cat and Crunch machine. Good looking race car. White's now found himself back inside the top 5. He was able to clear Pendel, and now Nathan Maurer in the 7th position, trying to close in on the back of the 06. But man, this racing is spectacular, continues to be spectacular, as Buck continuing to stay underneath the number 51 machine here as they dive off into turn number 1.
Absolutely, that 51 of Paul Bilson able to recover pretty well after that loss of momentum out of 2. That was a scary moment for him. But yeah, you mentioned him. Justin White had that kind of not great restart not too long ago where he restarted with the lead and then quickly fell back due to old tires. What a recovery from him. He just took the 4th position away from TJ Buck in that, again, beautiful 84 Captain Crunch scheme. But we're side by side for second with Paul Bilson and the 15 of Robert Dudley. Heck of a drive down into the corner for the 51. Slides up again. It's so easy to just go a little too deep into turn 1 and 2. And that 15 able to get a great drive off, along with the number 2 of Justin White. Great runoff. Oh, he's a little too deep into 3, but he's going to try to recover that 4th position from the 51. Not going to be able to do it. Paul Bilson back up to 3rd.
Yeah, just like that. I mean, I said just a couple laps ago that they were like shuffling the deck. Well, these cars continuing to shuffle.
Contact between the 51 and the 15. Whoa, 51 threw it into the corner and got into the back of Robert Dudley there. Justin White what's going on right there? What's going on?
Bilson off the track on the inside, and a caution flag is out. I think that's the number 77 machine of Doug Neal back there who got sideways. We'll have to see if we can figure out this one here on the 3-wide TV replay.
That is, wow. When that cues up, that is a heck of a save from that 77 truck. I mean, I understand why they're racing through the caution, but wow.
Yeah, here we go, going off into the corner. There was that contact there with the number 50 machine. And
that's incredible. That is some Kyle Busch stuff, right? Where you see him get, 45, 50 degrees yacht out and able to bring it back under control. I certainly couldn't do that. That's a heck of a save right there.
That was an absolute fantastic save for that number 77 machine. And the good news out of that whole deal is he's not going to lose very many spots from that one, because he was able to gather it back up so quickly. And my oh my, great job. Meanwhile, we have a bunch of cars on pit road, pretty much 5th position on back coming down pit road here, Drew. With just 30 laps to go, we've reached the final third of the race. A lot of these drivers,
got some arguments over the radio here between the 15, the 51, and the 61 of Joey Doucette. Seems like they have a bit of disagreements over, what constitutes good race, and Paul Bilson thinking, this is a race. I'm here to race. And some of the other guys have seemed to disagree with his stance on that.
Yeah, without a doubt, definitely going to see a little bit of disagreement.
That 51 has some significant damage. I believe he lost the hood.
Oh, my goodness.
No. That is just his paint scheme. Looks like an open engine bay. But he definitely has some significant damage to the front of that 51 truck.
Yeah, well, there is the number 51 machine coming out there.
By the way, Peter, I cannot hear you if you're keying that mic, so I'm just going to keep running with this broadcast.
You got me now?
10-4, gotcha.
All right, not quite sure what was up with that, but definitely a little bit of some kinks to iron out here before we start the season next week.
You cut out again.
Well, not 100% sure what's up with that. I do think I know what the issue is. I think it might be a little bit of Discord gremlins here tonight. But Drew, great to see that number 51 still out there on the racetrack. And hopefully we can see him work his way through the field.
Absolutely. And I think this is the great thing about having a fast repair, right? Is I think that we've seen by and large these guys treat it the correct way, which is not a, hey, I have a fast repair, let me drive as hard as I can and drive through guys. But it's, hey, if a mistake happens, I have this thing to fall back on. A slight mistake is not going to ruin my night, but it's not something that you can just count on to be a joker card to where you can just decide, hey, who cares? I got a fast repair. I can just be ultra aggressive. But we're seeing aggressive but respectful stuff. I know that there's some arguments over the 51's actions, but it wasn't atrocious, right? Like he didn't, get into someone's left rear quarter panel going into a corner. It's just a little too much entry speed, got into the back of another competitor in that 15, but nobody wrecked because of that. And also, I got to say, once again, that 77 truck, what a save. Doug Neal, wow.
Yeah, and Doug Neal right now finds himself in the 11th position, and he did elect to come down pit road, excuse me. So he's one of those drivers who did take tires. Now, speaking of drivers who took tires, only the front 4 drivers stayed out. That's Justin White, Jacob Shoffett, Bill Edwards, and Ron Giovo. JT Poole in the number 1 machine. He's the first car. Well, as I say, that looks like the 77 is going to come back down pit road.
And guess who is in 5th?
Yeah, I was going to say, JT Poole, first man on fresh tires. Right there he is. I mean, you got to think he's sitting in the catbird seat right now.
I think the 5 just realized, hey, I'm not in a great position. And he just came down pit road, but we have the 2 with Justin White out front leading once again, not his first time. Now, I don't think, the lights are not off on the pace car. I thought he was taking the inside, which would have been bucking the trend on these restarts. But yeah, that one of JT Poole, rather, he's just been so quick in 5th place, fresh tires. I mean, less than 30 to go. What a great position he's put himself in. I think we've all had races where we felt like we're the fastest car in the race, truck in the race, and we've just not made the right decision strategy-wise. We haven't capitalized on track position and whatnot. That is not the case for JT Poole tonight. So far, he has made every correct decision. He still has another set of fresh tires, if I'm not mistaken, with these few laps left, so he's not going to get caught out by strategy. In 5th, fresh tires, great position he's put himself in to try to win this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to keep an eye on the biggest mover of the race. Of course, the biggest mover of the race will end up with the Taz Racing Customs Biggest Mover of the Race Award. And currently, that is Ron Giovo in the number 17 machine, although he is one of those drivers who did not come down pit road. He's being scored in 4th, but he qualified back in 29th, currently running up in 4th. Meanwhile, the next biggest mover in the field is Nathan Maurer in the 970. In the 971 machine, Nathan Maurer, the second biggest mover of the race as of right now. And Drew, I'm getting caught out by a little bit of the gremlins that is Discord and running it as an administrator. So we'll get that sorted out by next week. But I'm very excited for the finish of this race here tonight.
Absolutely. That's why we're doing this, right? To kind of get those gremlins out, figure out what we need to improve on. I'm interested to see. It looks like that 17 truck around Giovo has a little bit of rear end damage. Sometimes I've definitely found that it can be a little bit of an advantage, and oftentimes, more often than not, in fact, it can really, really slow your truck down, especially on the straightaways. It'll be interesting to see how it affects that 17 truck, because he is starting second car on the outside, P4. If he has any issues, it's going to be in front of the whole field. And of course, as we've been talking about, not going to be in front of JT Poole. While he might be a position behind, he's starting 5th on the inside, only 2 rows away from that lead. How long is it going to take JT Poole to get this lead? Because we have seen him work traffic like a magician all night.
Yeah, absolutely. JT Poole starting on the inside of row number 3, pace car down pit road. Green flag in the flagman's hand. Flag. And we are back to green flag action here at Texas Motor Speedway. Good restart there by Justin White. Good restart by Justin White as we're back to green flag action here at the Texas Motor Speedway. That 2 machine shot out like a cannon there, Drew, and he's going to skip away from that second row of cars, Bill Edwards and Jacob Shoffett, but keep an eye on JT Poole trying to work his way up.
Absolutely. That's as good of a restart as you can ask for as the leader, but the one truck, once again, JT Poole, all night long we've been talking about him, but it's not because he hasn't earned it. He's already up to 3rd after starting 5th on this restart. Looks like he is, fighting already. Look at those 2 second and 3rd place cars. 1 car, oh my gosh, the momentum he can carry on the outside going into 3. Is it a little too much? And slides up a little bit, but I don't think it's going to cost him much as he clears P2. Oh, he's hunting down P1 and the number 2 of Justin White. He is I would be surprised if out of the end of this next lap, if he's not in the lead. But the 84 truck, TJ Buck, not going to let him get away. Captain Crunch Scheme, look at, he gets a little loose out of 424. Check up 3 wide, backs out of it wisely. Side by side for the lead, though, as JT Poole looking to get that lead from Justin White in that 2 truck. He's got some momentum, but we're going to go 3 wide. The 84 truck looking to get that lead as well.
This is some great stuff at the front. Poole gonna clear the number 84 of Buck. Just cuts across his nose there on entry into turn number 3 and 4. But look at the hard charging number 2 machine back behind him. The 2 of White. He's led a couple of laps here tonight at the Texas Motor Speedway. Just 24 laps to go. And look at Bilson. Contact between the 24 and Bilson. And he's gone around. And we are now under caution here at Texas Motor Speedway, and we're going to have to see if we can see what happened here on the 3-wide TV replay. So let's see if we can dial this one up, Drew, and keeping an eye on the number 51 machine. He was side by side with the number 24 machine as they headed off into turn number 1, and watch this little bit of contact right there. Is going to turn him up, around, and into the outside wall. That's a tough break for Bilson. Been fast all night long.
Yeah, it's. I'm trying to see. I can't really tell. Did the 24 wash up a bit? Yeah, I gotta say the 24 looks like he washed up a bit, and that 51, man, in real life, that would be a real pain in the neck. That was a flush impact on that driver's side door for that 51 truck, and I believe he's used his fast repair too after that contact under that last green flag run. So I think he's gonna have a rough end of this night, which he has run so well, unfortunately, for Mr. Paul Bilson.
Yeah, absolutely. Into that outside wall. Definitely a tough break as we go back live. He's working his way around the racetrack right now in that number 51. And I'm sure he's going to come down pit road and get some of that damage repaired. But meanwhile, up at the front, Drew, the number 84 machine of TJ Buck has taken the race lead away from JT Poole. How about that here with just 21 laps to go?
Absolutely. We've been talking all JT Poole up all night, and guess who decides? I don't care. I don't care who you've been talking about all night. Mr. TJ Buck in that 84 truck. He took it to JT Poole right there on that, right before that yellow flag, and he's looking in a solid position. I'm kind of surprised some other guys who definitely are at a tire deficit to those 2 leaders didn't come down pit road like Justin White. I really think that we've kind of underrated how much these tires are worth on these short green flag runs. I know we only have 20 laps left, but that's a long time on more worn tires than the guys in front of you. And I'm certainly a guy who's always going to be looking to fight for wins. I'd rather, take a gamble to try to win the race than to know that best you're going to do is third. But maybe Justin White thinks there's going to be more cautions and that he would be best served by saving those tires a little bit.
And right there you see your Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award going to the number 5 machine of Ben Adams. So the number 5 back on the lead lap. That will give us about 16 cars on the lead lap here for this restart with under 20 laps to go. And as I say that, having a little bit of connection issues with that machine right there. But Drew, going to be a good run into the finish here. A little bit of a shootout in Texas.
Absolutely. I was kind of surprised to see TJ Buck be able to just take the pace to JT Poole. I thought, again, as we've kind of seen, Poole, once he's gotten in the lead, he's been consistent and kind of pulled away from the second place truck. 84 of TJ Buck said, I don't care. I don't care who you've been talking about all night. I don't care who's been in the lead all night. I don't care who's been the quickest truck all night. I want the lead, and I'm going to take it, and that's exactly what he did.
Captain Crunch on the hood, trying to be captain here tonight, and the best way to be captain at the racetrack is to be P1, and that's where he is right now. So you can see the current running order there on the left side of your screen. I gotta say, the number 1 machine of JT Poole, like you said, dominant all night, but Justin White, how about him getting back up into the top 5? He was shuffled back a little bit ago, now finding himself in third. Brett Accord in the 151 machine. Haven't mentioned him all too much here tonight, but he's put together a solid run in that race car right there. Then right behind him, the 24 machine of Ben Mashburn, just involved in that little bit of a scuffle with Paul Bilson. But then the 971, Nathan Maurer right there on the outside. Then you see a couple cars behind him. Michael Mooney in the 88 machine. Chris Darling on the inside. And Chris Darling, Drew, we go way back. All three of us back to the NR 2003 days, back when we were youngins and, still going to Texas Motor Speedway as youngins. But I got to say, great to see Chris Darling in this field here tonight. Of course, Chris Darling helps put together the National Sim Racing Association. He is one of the admins, and definitely great to have him put together this league, and definitely great to have a little bit of a buddy up there atop the admin board. But rounding out your top 10 currently, Robert Dudley, G.J. Boydell, and Justin Hutchinson in the number 29 machine. So a couple of new players there inside the top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going back to Chris Darling, it reminds you how small the sim racing community really is. iRacing can feel like this huge thing, right? But time and again, I have seen names that I have raced with, dating back to the mid-late 2000s. And then all of a sudden you're like, I know that name. Where do I know it from? And then you rack your brain a little bit and you're like, holy crap, we have been in league races before, right? Same thing with Chris Darling. Great to see a familiar name. Especially, putting a fantastic league like this together. And I think, we definitely have some new faces up in the top 10. G.J. Boydell. We also have Robert Dudley back up in the top 10 after kind of some dramas with the 51 under not too long green flag runs ago. I think Nathan Maurer, my apologies for mispronouncing that name. I haven't seen him in the top 10 much, up into P5. And then the 24, Ben Mashburn, right? We got Brett Ackard. What are these guys going to do? Do they have anything for those two out front? Because, JT Poole's been so quick all night, and then the 84 TJ Buck just decided, right? Like I've said, he wants that lead, and he has shown that he can match that one of JT Poole. So do any of those guys behind those front two, do they have anything for them?
We will have to wait and find out. Bring up our race summary down there at the bottom left-hand side of your screen. We're now working lap number 72. We'll have 17 laps to go when we go back to green. We've had 6 cautions here tonight. The average pace is a 30.881. That's a very fast 178 miles an hour around this Texas Motor Speedway. 12 lead changes here tonight, but I think, Drew, the key takeaway from this race is just how action-packed it has been.
It's so much better racing than I've expected. From the NASCAR races to the IndyCar races, I think everyone's been a little underwhelmed by the reconfiguration of Texas Motor Speedway. And I think if you could get Eddie Gossage in a truthful conversation, he'd probably say it as well. But I tell you what, these guys haven't been underwhelming tonight. It has been fantastic racing side by side throughout the field. Multiple changes for the lead under green flag conditions. No one's run away with it. We've had quick guys out front like JT Poole, but they have not been able to dominate it. And we are coming to the green flag here, Pete.
Yep, the green flag in the flagman's hand, and the number 84 of TJ Buck, gonna get us back to green flag. Green flag waves, and just like that, the 84 on the loud pedal gonna clear the number 1 machine as they head off into turn number 1. Meanwhile, back behind them, look at Ben Mashburn there in the 24 machine, trying to stay to the outside of the 151 machine on his inside. But now Nathan Maurer back there in the 971 in the 5th position, trying to make some noise.
Absolutely, and like we just said, Chris Darling in that 47 truck been real quiet all night. Got the outside, a little close. I think some difference of opinions as to the correct line, going 3 and 4. But we got another caution on track.
Caution flag is in the air here at Texas Motor Speedway. We'll try and figure out exactly what happened. And looking a little bit further back in the pack, I believe it happened here around the number 17 of Ron Giovo. We'll have to see whether or not that is true or not. I know we're looking a little bit further forward. Let's go back.
Yeah, it is. It's a 17.
There he goes. Ooh, yeah, the 17 and the 5 having a little bit of a coming together. Just like that, the 17 into the outside wall and heavy into the inside wall there again.
That's a heck of a hit into the inside wall. That's got to be disappointing. You just talked about him being up front, but having that rear end damage. I wonder how much that played into kind of. It seemed like he was lacking some pace through 3 and 4, and The 5 kind of pinched in by his teammate on the inside in the 4, and it's just unfortunate for that 17. Man, that's a hard hit for that left front on the inside wall too.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of net code in that one. It did appear, but nonetheless, the 17 of Giovo getting a huge shot into that car. And you see the number 5 machine of Adams on pit lane as we speak. Going to come down and try and get some of that damage repaired. But meanwhile, up at the front, it is still the 84 machine of Buck Lee over the number 1 of JT Poole. So, just like that, Drew, looks like possibly we have had a changing of the guard almost. I mean, the 1 led a lot of the early portion of the race, but now it appears that the number 84 is going to possibly see out this thing, as we see the Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award going to the number 4 of Andrew Himmelman. Great to see him back on the lead lap, because, Drew, he was pretty quick in the early going.
Absolutely, and he was almost not his own doing involved in that last caution, so his teammate's misfortune is his fortune, and he is able to get that lucky dog, get back on the lead lap, and we have seen some pace from that Ford truck earlier in the night. Hopefully this is a reprieve for him, and he can get back up there and try to compete for at least a top 10. Quite a bit to ask out of 18th with only, 15 laps to go, but you know he's going to give it everything he can.
So we are currently now scored with 17 cars on the lead lap. Ben Adams in the number 5 machine currently being scored the last car on the lead lap. But great to have Himmelman back on the lead lap. We'll have to see how far through the field he can charge here in these closing laps. But meanwhile, I mean, we've seen some great racing up at the front all night long here, Drew. I mean, when we had that 2 and 3 wide action between the 51 machine, who's now got some damage, you see him coming off pit road there on the left side of your screen, the 84, the 1, 2, just some spectacular racing.
Absolutely. It honestly, someone should tell these these guys, this is not an early 2010s IndyCar race. That's what it's been like, right? Like, we have just seen some incredible side-by-side action at a track that hasn't always produced that, and the only thing that we've seen consistently is pre-reconfiguration. The IndyCar's been able to reproduce anything like the on-track action we've seen tonight, and I got to give these guys a lot of credit. There's been some close quarters racing, and not a ton of contact, a lot of respectful racing with these guys. And that can be really hard to do when you're just always in such close proximity to your competitors.
Yeah, absolutely. Been a fantastic job by the whole field here tonight. We have had some cautions, and, I can bring up very quickly the race details. This is the 7th caution we're now working here tonight. But it for some reason, Drew, it doesn't feel like we've had 7 cautions here tonight. With the amount of good quality racing that we have seen, it definitely outweighs the fact that we have had cautions. And I got to say, the cautions that we have seen, they've been mostly racing deals around this racetrack. Nothing too crazy. We've seen a little bit of net code struggle with some of these drivers, but really, the quality of the racing's been superb, and I gotta say, that for me, as we're gonna be strapped in to a fairly lengthy season for the NSRA SIMBOX Cup Series, I gotta say, it's a lot of fun, and makes me look forward to the season.
Absolutely. I think what's kind of really helped with honestly, I was kind of surprised at how many cautions there have been, is there's been we're at lap 78 now, so I think there's been about 10 laps between each caution. It's not like there has been those races, like we've all been in races where it's just been back to back to back to back cautions, and then after the halfway mark, it goes green to the end because all the guys that have been causing cautions have cleaned themselves out, versus this has been, there have been some racing deals. I think that, number one, a fun race in which there's no points on the line can lend itself to that kind of deal, but it's certainly not been boring, right? It's not been where, oh, cool, we got one corner and then there's a wreck. It's been hard racing, and just guys, I think, not anticipating what lines other guys are going to take, and 2 cautions at least were just net code.
Yeah, definitely a great race here tonight, Texas Motor Speedway. You can see up at the top of your screen The number of laps led, JT Pools led 35, Justin White's led 13. TJ Buck will come across the start-finish line this time to lead his 11th lap, but that just is kind of showing the indication that, yeah, Pools led the most laps here tonight, but really has the field has done a good job to track him down and pass him and make it really exciting here for the few people we have watching. And we've got to give a shout out to the people who are watching. And if you're watching this on demand, maybe after the race, trying to see how this all plays out, because it is going to be an exciting finish, especially. Got to give a huge shout out to you if you're watching. Make sure to leave a comment. Let us know what we can do better. This is my first time emceeing one of these races. Usually we have Mr. 3-Wide TV himself, Mr. Carlos Acosta, emceeing and driving all the cameras each and every week here on 3-Wide TV. But I'm now manning the cameras myself. So, usually Carlos Acosta, he's the broadcast man. He sits in the broadcast booth, and I usually end up doing the commentary. And Mr. Acosta gets the cushy job of not having to do double duty. But here tonight, I'm kind of doing the double duty with the commentary and emceeing the cameras and all of the graphics and stuff. So I am getting better at it. It is going to take a little bit, but we're going to go back to green flag here shortly. Make sure you give us a comment if there is something we can do better. Give me a shout out. Of course, I am in the NSRA Discord as well. If you are watching and you're in the NSRA Discord as well, give me a message or something like that. But nonetheless, we're going to go back to green flag racing. The pace car going to head down pit road, race in the hands of the 84 machine TJ Buck, waiting for the green flag to come out, and there is the green flag, and look at the jump.
I thought JT Poole there was gonna potentially jump that start, but it looked like the 84 was able to get by him. A late restart compared to what we've seen all night, but it looks like that 84 of TJ Buck's got the lead comfortably. Ben Mashburn up to second, and then good old Chris Darling trying to battle what appears to be his teammate. Got to confirm that for second place. And then the one truck there of JT Poole all the way back down to fourth on the restart. The 24 with a big run I thought that was going to be a little contact out of 4. 24 definitely had to let off there of Ben Mashburn, but he's going to send it to the inside of the 84. Going into turn 1, it looks like Darling lost the nose. JT Poole up the track a little bit by the 47, losing the nose. But we got, 4 wide back there? 3 wide for a second. But they sort themselves out, but back down to 2 wide going into turn 3.
And Ben Mashburn in the 24 machine. How about this, folks? He's taking that race truck to the front, got around TJ Buck, and great job there by Ben Mashburn to take the lead here. I think this is the first time, Drew, we've seen the 24 machine out front all night long, and there's only 10 laps to go. Good time to take the race leader, Texas Motor Speedway, and we'll see if he can pull away with that clean air on the nose. But meanwhile, from third on back, it's a huge gaggle, but TJ Buck not letting Ben Mashburn get anywhere out front.
Absolutely. I was not really prepared for Ben Mashburn, who has been towards the front, but definitely not out front all night. But that 84 of TJ Buck, not looking to let him get away with it easy, not gonna let him just not earn this race victory. But we got a good battle. Oh, the one truck. What a save by the one of JT Poole. But, man, that cost him a ton of momentum out of 2.
Yeah, we'll see this very quickly on the 3-Wide TV replay. There's the contact with the number 15 machine. Fantastic save. We go back live now with just the...
that's got to be frustrating. He's been up front all night, and when it counts, he has that slight bit of contact, and that is going to probably cost him a chance to compete for the race win unless something really turns around here in these last few laps. But out front, the 24 truck, all overtaken by TJ Buck.
Yeah, TJ Buck. Fantastic job to get that Captain Crunch machine back up to the lead, but Ben Mashburn not letting him get away as Mashburn got a huge run out of turn number 4 again, and now he's going to dive to the inside, side by side, back for the race lead with now just 6 more laps to go.
Absolutely. That 24 truck, I thought Mashburn was going to clip the grass a little bit going into turn 1, and that trial, as we've talked about, looks pretty straightforward, but in execution can be a little tricky, but he was able to make it stick on the inside of TJ Buck going back down into turn 1. But the 84, man, back with the momentum. What is TJ Buck? Inside, outside, right behind the rear of that 24, Ben Mashburn. He's going to stick behind him going into turn 1, going to look a little bit on the outside. Is he going to try to cut it back down on the late apex in turn 2 to get some momentum? A little bit, but not enough to, I don't think, show the nose going into turn 3.
Yeah, great job by the number 24 machine. I mean, this is a great battle with just 5 more laps to go. TJ Buck all over the back bumper. And Drew, these trucks, they punch a big hole in the air. There's a lot of draft. You can suck up to someone's back bumper pretty easily, and I think that's what TJ Buck's trying to do. He's trying to get that slingshot and time it just right to get underneath the 24. And here he goes for the race lead. 4 laps to go. Buck's going to put his nose out front. Mashburn's going to jump down underneath him. No, he's not. He's going to slide back in behind him, and we're coming to 3 to go this time.
Absolutely, and I think we would be sorely mistaken to discount third place Chris Darling on back, because I think this side-by-side racing, this constant switching for the lead is going to bring third on back into this, and we have plenty of competitors that would love to take advantage of 2 guys racing side by side for the lead. But it looks like TJ Buck's kind of established himself out there now with the lead. It's been a few corners, a few laps since that 24 of Ben Mashburn's been able to retake that lead. Is TJ Buck going to kind of get in the groove? Oh, but the one truck in turn 3 and 4.
And JT Poole goes up the racetrack, coming back down the racetrack. And just like that, we're going to have a caution here. We'll see what happened here with the number 1 racing with the number 15. They've made contact a couple laps ago, and just like that, the 1 machine of JT Poole, who's led the most laps here tonight, he's locked up the most laps led, but just like that, he's going to find himself sideways on the racetrack. One more look with that contact with the number 15 machine, and a very long slide, but good job there, Drew, for that number 1 machine to really not make it any worse. He kept it outside, or off the wall, I should say. Good job just kind of locking it down and getting it woed up, but it looks like we're going to have a green-white checker for the win here.
Absolutely. It's really hard to place blame on that. I mean, number 1, the track's so wide and there's so many different lines you can run. I got to say, I would be frustrated if I were the 1 after already making a great save, having had contact earlier with the 15. You'd expect, given that there would be a little more room given by the 15 with the 1 truck, but unfortunately not so. And man, I think the fastest truck in this race for the majority of it is just going to come out and not have the finish that he thinks he probably should have.
And right there, JT Poole, he's all the way down in the 16th position there, Drew. So definitely a tough break for him, and not quite sure he can make his way back up to the front after this one is all said and done, running right behind the number 4 of Andrew Himmelman and Ben Adams in front of him. So nonetheless, JT Poole has had a good showing here tonight. I'm sure one thing he'll be happy about is this isn't for points, for folks. This is a preseason event. Of course, the season kind of gets a kickstart next week with the Lynchburg duels at Daytona. Make sure you join us for that. And then, of course, the big one, the SIMBOX 250 at Daytona the week after that. So we thank you for joining us with this little bit of a test stream here tonight, Drew. It's been a lot of fun. Texas Motor Speedway under the lights. These guys have put on an absolute show for the people watching. And
It's been a pleasure to broadcast. As you mentioned, this is your first time driving the ship. Well, this is my first time in the broadcast booth. So it's been a real pleasure, a big learning experience, and a blast to watch these guys compete so hard for, honestly, something that is just bragging rights. There's no points on the line. There's no real consequence to winning this race other than just winning a freaking race. So it's been a blast to be up here in the broadcast booth, as we've seen some great competition between some really talented drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. And TJ Buck in that 84 machine definitely showing that he's pretty darn strong out there. Someone we're going to have to keep an eye on throughout the SIMBOX Truck Series season here in the National Sim Racing Association. And right behind him, the 24 machine, Ben Mashburn, and then Chris Darling, Doug Neal in 4th, Nathan Maurer in 5th, Jason White in 6th. And I think one of the coolest things about what we've seen in this race is the fact that we saw the number 1 machine dominate the first portion of the race. And then the last half of the race, man, it has just been shuffling the deck up at the front. People passing one another, getting the lead back. It's been so much fun to see. And it definitely is a great springboard to the season. I know we'll see lots of lead changes next week at Daytona, but I wasn't quite expecting so many lead changes here tonight as you look out back of the number 84 right into the eyes of the number 24 machine of Ben Mashburn. Will we see these two battle it out for the checkered flag here shortly, or will we see someone else play spoiler? Could it be Chris Darling or the number 77 of Doug Neal? Well, Drew, we'll find out here in just a couple laps.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is more in line with what I was expecting next week at the duels in the following week with the 250. Not really what I was expecting at Daytona. I'm sorry, I'm getting the names confused even. Not what I was expecting at Texas Motor Speedway. It has been an incredible race and just showing what these guys can do no matter what track they're on. They can put on some fantastic racing. As Ben Mashburn has a little rigged quippy little comment in driver chat, but I think this green-white checkered is going to be entertaining, to say the least.
That it will. Got to give a huge shout out to some of the drivers up in the top 10 who have had big comebacks, including the man who's driving the number 78. That's Joey Doucette. Great recovery for him. What about Stan Halsman in the number 39 machine? He was also involved in an accident earlier in the race, I do believe. He's now running in ninth. And Michael Mooney, he's had some contact there in that white number 88. So some drivers here having good comebacks here in the late stages of this one.
Yeah, we've seen such a shakeup of drivers throughout the race. We haven't seen the 77 of Doug Neal this far forward the whole race either, and he's in a really good position. I think that outside lane is the preferred lane on these restarts. Can he get up there and mix it up with these leaders? Because we saw second and third place, get drawn in by that lead battle here on that last run.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that those pace lights turn off. We'll find out here in just a second here. And there you see it. The lights have been extinguished. So we'll get set to go back to green flag action here in one more lap. And Drew, if the last restart is any indication of what we'll see here, this is for all the marbles. This is for the bragging rights, like you mentioned here tonight in the preseason thunder at Texas Motor Speedway. Who will it be? Will it be Buck, Mashburn, Darling, Neal, Maurer, or someone else? We'll find out here in just 2 laps time. We got the Windsors in the chat rooting on Bill, and definitely great showing tonight in that machine. Nicholas Bradley has also been in the chat here tonight. Hopefully you guys are getting a little bit of the bonus action here. We'll be back, of course, here on 3Y TV next week for the Lynchburg duels at Daytona. Make sure you join not only for the duels, but the remainder of the SimBox Truck Series season, because we will be here pretty much every Friday night. There are a few off weeks here in between. We're going to visit some of the famed racetracks across the United States: Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Atlanta, Daytona, Talladega, Kansas, Dover, Charlotte, a whole lot of them, including Texas Motor Speedway, which is actually one of the first races on the schedule. I'm looking forward to that after what we've seen here tonight. But the pace car going to head down onto pit road. Race in the hands of the number 84 machine right there, the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. TJ Buck, the
here we go, 84 with a heck of a jump on the restart. Oh, we got a wreck behind the 2 truck, and we're going to have our second of 2 green-white checkers.
And we'll go back and see exactly how that all played out. And here we are on the restart. Keep an eye on the number 2 machine. Looks like Drew, maybe the 2 checked up a little bit, and the 77... the number 15, might have just got into the right rear quarter panel. We'll see that one more time here, possibly from a different angle, and you can't really see all too much from that one, so we'll get another look at it here, because I'll tell you what, there was that little bit of contact. This is going to be the best angle. Watch the number 15 machine, and the 2, I'm not sure if the 2 came down or not. We'll see maybe if we can see from the chopper cam and kind of see what happened here. We'll go into slow motion and watch the number 2 machine, the Skull Bandit, right there lining up third car on the outside. That outside groove did not get a good restart. He gets into the back of the 77 and he comes down the racetrack. The 15 definitely a little bit higher on the racetrack than the car in front of him. And just that contact led to another attempt here at a green-white checker.
Absolutely. I think with these green-white checkers, they tend to be a little chaotic in the restarts. But I think anyone who's been in that situation, you tend to just follow the tire tracks of the car in front of you. And I think that is exactly what the 2 did. And the 15 looked a little out of line. And so if I were going to place that incident on anybody, it would definitely have to be the 15 truck. I don't know what else the 2 could have done. There's just a little checkup in front, and unfortunately, he gets collected from behind.
Yeah, so we will go back to caution here for the next couple of laps. We'll re-rack him doing it again. Looks like Chris Darling in the number 47 machine, though. He was able to get around the number 24, so Darling now is going to slide up into the second. So we'll have to see how that all pans out. Let's see if we can pick up the current race leader. There he is, the 84 on your screen. There's the number 7 machine, and folks, I do believe we have a lucky dog. Right there, Raymond Hellig in that machine is your Brookstone Animal Hospital Lucky Dog Award for this caution. He will get back onto the lead lap, I do believe. So a good job by him to keep that car clean, and hopefully he can work his way up through the field. He's currently being scored in the 20th position as of right now, but good news is he wanted to see that caution, Drew, to get back on the lead lap.
Absolutely. He can only benefit from that, even though I'm sure the 84 truck, based on his restart, did not want to see that. Well, I tell you what, the 47, based on the kind of struggles of that outside lane, and the 84 picking the inside, the 47 being in third behind him, he moved up to second. So we're going to see Chris Darling try to battle for this win on this restart.
Yeah, got to give a shout out to Roger Muth in the chat, rooting on the number 77 of Doug Neal. Currently riding in the 5th position. There you see him right there. We'll bring up his statistics there. And one of the key things about that number 77 machine.
I know, Pete, that you know I have a soft spot for my favorite number 77, which I run whenever possible. So it's great to see a fellow pilot of a number 77 machine doing well. It's a good-looking truck. And with one of our great sponsors for this series in SimBox, you got to root for Doug Neal.
Yeah, absolutely. If you ever see Drew Eisenman in a car that isn't number 77, something's wrong.
The number was not available. So I know if I were a racer here, I wouldn't get any of my preferred numbers because they all have a combinations of 7 in them. And it seems like they're pretty much all taken in this league. So regardless of that, it's great to see a fellow 77 driver doing well, and Doug Neal with quite a great sponsor on the hood and quarter panels of that truck.
Yeah, great to have SimBox on board. Remember, if you are in need of a button box, I'll tell you what, you can't ever have enough buttons in sim racing, Drew. It seems like I always run out of them. I like to run road courses. I know you do as well. Whether you need a button to change the traction controller or a button to change one of the other settings, maybe your brake bias. You need buttons to do it, and SimBox, of course, jumping on board. Make sure you look them up on Facebook, SimBox PC. That is their Facebook name, facebook.com/SimBox PC. If you need a button box, go check them out, because definitely a very well-priced product, a very quality product. Hearing that there might be new products in the line as well for them, so definitely fantastic to have them on board for this Truck Series season. If you're in the chat, let us know how tonight's going. This is my first time emceeing, so to speak, running the cameras around this racetrack, and definitely pretty cool to see such a competitive race here tonight. And like these drivers said coming into tonight, it's not for anything but the checkered flag here tonight. The real season begins next week and the week after with the SimBox 250 2 weeks from now. But these drivers, they're race car drivers. You want to go out there win. And Drew, if you put me in the driver's seat, man, I'm competitive. I want to go out there. I want to get the checkered flag, whether it's a fun race or not.
Absolutely. There's nothing. I think with these fun races, because there's nothing on the line, it kind of, whatever that little limit is, where you're like, I could force this deal, but I don't want to risk the point situation and whatnot. That's out of the window on this thing. So I think we're going to see the 84, the 47, the 24, 971, 77, 78 give it everything they got. They have put themselves in position to win this race, and they're going to do everything they can to capitalize on that.
And you can see right there that the pace car lights have turned off, so we will go back to green flag racing here shortly. So definitely going to be very interesting to see whether or not this man right here can hold on to the win. The number 84 of TJ Buck to his outside, Chris Darling. That's the highest we've seen Chris Darling all night long, Drew. Same thing with the number 971, Nathan Maurer. He's currently sitting in that fourth position on the outside of the 24 of Mashburn. So we're seeing some different players up the front, and Doug Neal sitting down there in fifth. Could he squeak away with a podium? We will have some post-race interviews for you lined up here on 3Y TV after the race, so don't go anywhere. We'd love to hear from some of these drivers because the action has just been spectacular here tonight.
Absolutely. If my money's, on the line for this thing, I'm throwing it on the 84 TJ Buck. In the second half of this race, he has been so competitive. Even when he's lost the lead, he hasn't ceded that position and quickly taken it back, and he has put himself in a fantastic position to grab this win. But we know Chris Darling's not going to lay down without a fight. I expect a heck of a race here in these last 2 laps.
Pace car heads down pit road. You saw it peel off. The number 84 of TJ gonna lead us back to green flag. Gets a pretty decent restart, but he might have spun the tires just a smidgen.
Restart by Darling. We haven't can compete at all night on these restarts, and he is right on the outside of that 84 truck, but the 84 definitely gets a better run through 3 and 4. Can he carry that momentum off the corner?
Yeah, we saw that number 84 machine. He throws a block on the number 24 machine of Mashburn. They're halfway down the backstretch. It'll be the white flag in the air this time. And look at the 24. Might have caught the apron just a little bit as the 47 of Darling to his outside, and the caution flag is out. So we will have another attempt at a green-white checker. Let's see if we can dial up and figure out what happened here to bring out this caution.
Well, Peter, that is the second of 2. That's it. TJ Bucks won it.
Oh my goodness, just like that. And we'll see what happened here. The 2 machine of Justin White was down there on the apron, but watch what happened here in turn number 3. Oh, that was a little bit of contact out front. The 014 machine made a contact with the wall. They tried to go 3 wide. There wasn't enough room, and that is what brought out the caution here. And just like that, it looks like this race has come to a conclusion. We'll see if we can dial up that number 41 machine, see him come across the start-finish line. There he is. But Drew, it was a crazy night, but like you said, our 2 attempts at a green-white checker, that's all we got for green-white checkers, and it looks like the number 84 of TJ Buck will hold on to it, come across the start-finish line, take home the win at Texas Motor Speedway. What a fantastic race all night long. Definitely left me on the edge of my seats all the way to the end of that one.
I got to tell you, I thought on that restart, Chris Darling had timed it perfectly, and he was on the outside of that 84 going into turn 1. But TJ Buck just dug deep and decided, I am not going to lose this thing. Drove it through 1 and 2, got through 3 and 4, threw that huge block on the 24 down the backstretch, clean but aggressive, and then capitalized on some aggressive driving in the mid-pack and took home the victory.
Yeah, definitely a fantastic race here tonight. And Drew, I think he's going to light them up here on the front straight.
Or he's going to make a liar out of you, Pete, and he's just going to stop short of the start-finish line. I don't see any smoke coming from those rear tires. Each driver definitely has their own kind of celebration that they like to do. There he goes, lighting up those rear tires a little bit. Stopping on that start-finish line, keeping it going. There we go. There's the burnouts.
And we are going to be chatting with our top finishers here shortly. We're going to let that number 84 machine burn it down here. We're going to step away for just a little bit. So listen to that number 84 machine. Burn it down. All right, folks, we're back here on 3Y TV. The number 84 machine, TJ Buck, did a fantastic job of burning him down here on the front. But we're going to dial up the number 47 machine of Chris Darling. Hey, Chris, how's it going? Peter Short up here in the 3Y TV booth, man. Fantastic race for you here tonight, because I'll tell you what, if there's any indication of what this season's going to be like, tonight told us that this is going to be one awesome season. The racing out there was just spectacular. Lots of side-by-side action here at Texas Motor Speedway, which I wasn't expecting of this racetrack. I was expecting more of that next week in the Lynchburg duels. Tell us a little bit about your night.
It was kind of a long night. I wasn't very good here to start off, but as the night went on, I kind of got a little bit better. It was an all right race. I thought I had a chance to win it there at the end, but that caution came out, so didn't really get to find out.
Well, I was saying that TJ Buck was getting a good restart there because he was pulled out in front of you a little bit, but you just timed it so well on that last restart that you were able to kind of get the jump on him, pull side by side with that race car. And we all thought that you had a shot at it.
I was watching him up front the past couple of restarts, and it didn't really look like he was changing his restart point, so I kind of knew where he was going to go, or I had an idea, so I just kind of tried to guess, and it looked like it worked out just right. It's just that bottom line was just so dang fast. There's not much you could do up high on the restarts.
Well, hey, I'll tell you what, tonight was just about the checkered flag and who comes home first in kind of this preseason event. But next week, we've got the Lynchburg duels. It is, of course, Daytona, and then the SIMBOX 250 the week after that. How hyped does this get you for Daytona next week?
It's pretty exciting. I don't know. I really dislike super speedways, but we'll see what we could do. I got a good group of teammates, so hopefully we can get somebody in victory lane next week.
Absolutely. Well, fantastic run by you here tonight. You got any shout-outs for us here on 3Y TV?
Just Ben Mashburn. We don't have any sponsors. I want to thank SIMBOX for sponsoring the league, Brookstone Animal Hospital, all the sponsors that help us out. It's been a great off-season for us, so just happy to have them on board and look forward to seeing what we could do this season.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, congratulations on your third place finish here tonight, and we'll see you next week in the Lynchburg duels.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, that was your third place finisher, and I believe that Drew Eisenman has caught up with your second place finisher here tonight, Ben Mashburn.
Ben Mashburn, Drew Eisenman in the 3Y TV booth. Got to tell you, I thought you were going to be able to get TJ Buck there on that last restart. Can you give us a summarization of your race?
The pit strategy was a big thing there. I believe some of the guys kind of took tires a little bit early, and we were able to save tires there towards the end. And I felt like we had TJ, like you said, but unfortunate the yellow came out. Felt like we had the faster truck there towards the end, and just didn't go our way.
Absolutely. On that last restart, TJ threw a fairly big block on you on that backstretch. Did throwing it 3 wide into turn 3 come across your mind?
Yeah, he threw. It was a good block. Yeah, you got to give it to him on that one. That was a heck of a block, man. Can't be mad at that one. And it didn't really. I figured I would just stay in the draft, stay behind him. Me and him were kind of the fastest two of the night, so I figured we'd be able to kind of get towards the front and just stay up there.
Absolutely. I know that last caution had to be disappointing, but I think we saw some really, really competitive side-by-side racing throughout the field tonight. How excited are you for this upcoming season?
Really excited, man. I actually set out quite a few races last season, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and try to make every race this season and see if we can make a good run at it.
Absolutely, Ben. Well, congratulations on second place. Is there anything you'd like to, or anybody you would like to shout out here on 3Y TV?
I appreciate Web Dilla Designs making the paint. He's always comes through with the paint. It's kind of just the main one, and just appreciate the league and you guys for broadcasting. You guys do a great job.
Right. Thank you, Ben, and congratulations on second.
I appreciate it, man.
All right. Well, I think I am going to be able to interview tonight's race winner, TJ Buck. And TJ, man, oh man, you led 26 laps here tonight, but I think most of those 26 laps led were in the final 30. Fantastic finish to this race for you. I mean, good start to the race. You were up there near the top 5, but the last half of the race really showing your muscle. Did the track conditions change such that it favored you, or did you feel like just a little bit of strategy went your way here tonight?
Well, the strategy, by the way, thank you. I forgot to say that. Where are my manners? But the strategy was more in the tires. 90 laps, we had 3 sets of tires, including the ones on the truck. So I just tried to divvy it out equally, and that ended up working out. But my big strategy was on the restarts, picking the inside line and waiting for green to go, and that's what really got me the leg up on the restarts. And also, I mean, most of my lead laps I think were under caution, so you know you you can only praise yourself so much. But I think I impressed on my debut in the series. I'm very excited.
Yeah, that number 84 Captain Crunch scheme definitely looking very good out there on the racetrack and very good out front and getting to victory lane here tonight. What was going through your head there towards the end of the race where we got those green-white checkers? It seemed like you might have had it all wrapped up, but then you had those green-white checkers and it made for a very exciting finish.
Yeah, this race it's the preseason still, so I'm not too worried about it. Whatever happens, happens. And somebody chimed in. I want to say it was Ben Mashburn. He said, he was like, I thought me and you were going to run away with that. I was like, yeah, the more the merrier, whatever. Let's have some fun. And I'm glad I got to battle it out with Chris for a couple feet. Just overall good race.
Yeah, definitely a lot of fun here to watch tonight. Next week, of course, we go to Daytona for the Lynchburg Duels, the SIMBOX 250 the week after that. What are your thoughts about Super Speedway racing?
Oh, I actually come from a super speedway league, and I live in Daytona, so I think I have a nice home court advantage there.
So basically, we can pencil you in for a win next week. That's what you're saying.
If I don't win, my name is Orville Redenbacher.
All right. Well, TJ, hey, before we let you go, you got any shout-outs for us here on 3YTV?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Shout out to everybody that I send this race to. Everybody in Bread Clan, my buddy Mike, Shane, Josh, Cord, everybody. Thank you for letting me babble about my hobbies to you, and then send you links of me winning races. Yeah, boy.
Well, very cool to have all of them on board. We're looking forward to this SIMBOX Truck Series season, and best of luck next week at Daytona.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for our post-race interviews. Have a few other things to discuss, and one of those is actually the biggest mover of the race. Brought to you by Taz Racing Customs. They do bring the biggest mover of the race award, and that would be Doug Neal. Started back in 24th position, comes home in 4th. That's 20 position
You cut out
gains.
again. I can't hear you.
So Doug Neal in the number 77 machine, taking home the Taz Racing Customs biggest mover of the race award. Started 24th up to 4th right at the end of the race. And folks, we'll get all of the gremlins figured out by next week here on 3Wide TV for the season opener. The real season opener, of course, this is not a publicly listed video, so you are getting a little bit of 3Wide TV bonus coverage with all this. But congratulations to Doug Neal for taking home that award here tonight. But Drew, why don't you take us through tonight's finishing result?
Absolutely. Well, obviously, TJ Buck, the 84 truck, taking home the victory, followed by Ben Mashburn taking home P2. Chris Darling, his teammate, taking home P3. Doug Neal, and that SIMBOX 77, taking home P4. Nathan Maurer taking P5. Joey Doucette, 6th. Robert Dudley, 7th. Stan Hausman, 8th. Michael Mooney, 9th. Brett Ackard, 10th.
In the 11th position was the number 5 machine of Ben Adams. In 12th, the number 4 of Andrew Himmelman. Good recovery for that number 4 machine after he found himself a lap down. Justin Hutchinson, another 21 machine. Didn't really talk about him all night long, but he comes home with a very respectable 13th. Paul Bilson, very fast in the early going, comes home 14th. GJ Boydell, 15th. Raymond Heilig in the 16th position. Bill Edwards in 17th. Jacob Schaffet, the last car on the lead lap, finishes in 18th. JT Poole led so many laps in this race. There you see it at the bottom of the screen, 35 laps led. He did lock up most laps led in this race, finishing 1 lap down in 19th. And Justin White also very quick here tonight, rounding out your top 20 there, Drew.
Absolutely. And in 21st, we have Owen Bridges in the 22nd. In the 22. In 22nd, we have Christopher Pendell in the 06. 23rd, Ron Giovo. I'm so sorry for mispronouncing your name, Ron. 17 in the 17 truck. A couple incidents in this race, still able to bring it home in 23rd. In 24th, Gerald Baker III in the 12 truck. Travis White in 25th. James Lorello in the 9 and 26th. Despite starting up front, he's got to be disappointed with that. Brandon Sauls in 27th. Brian Bradley in 28th. Mitchell Snare in 29th, and Chip Hansen bringing it home in 30th.
And that does it for the field here tonight. It was a fantastic race. Definitely one of the best races at Texas Motor Speedway I've seen in a very, very long time. But for myself, Peter Short, and Drew Eisman, and everyone back at the 3Y TV group, we want to give a huge shout out to our friends over at SimTV for the camera angles that we brought you here tonight. You'll see SimTV camera angles all season long, so huge shout out to them. But that's just about going to do it for this race here tonight at Texas Motor Speedway. We'll see you, of course, next week, same time, same place for the Lynchburg duels. We're going to iron out some of the kinks over the next 7 days. So make sure to give us a shout out either on the NSRA Discord or here on 3Y TV YouTube channel. But until we see you again out there on the racetrack, have a good night and stay safe.
Thanks for watching Hook 'em Horns.